Here we go. All right. Welcome, my lords, to the Well Earned Comforts podcast. I'm Sam, and I don't have Seth with me. This is a solo episode, so thank you for joining me on the Walls of Isengard as I explore the many works of Tolkien and discuss life. It's great to have you as part of the fellowship, as there's no telling where we'll be slipped off to. And today I decided to jump on and do a solo episode because Seth, man, he is one busy guy. He's doing a great job taking care of his family. He's got two beautiful kiddos, a wonderful wife, and he's got a lot of time to hang out with them, but also, I mean, he's working a lot. He is doing clinicals. He is working on his master's degree. The dude is doing more than I think I've ever done in my entire life. And so super proud of him, but totally understand that he just doesn't have time for anything other than just the free moments of family that he gets. And so don't want to tread on that, but I did want to share just a little bit of a gripe that I have that I just need to get off my chest. All right. So before that, I'm going to battle like Butterbur for a little bit, just catch you guys up on all things Sam. So if you are watching the YouTube video, you see my beautiful wife right next to me, and she is currently working on a painting, not Lord of the Rings painting. We'll get there. I'm gonna get her there, but she is working. She'll be starting a new business soon with somebody in town, with a business in town where she'll be able to kind of host paint and sips. And so she's working on one that she might be doing next week, which is really, really sweet. So super proud of her, proud that and thankful that she's able to find something new to do, because she kind of put all her own selfish passions and hobbies aside and let me have some while taking care of our two beautiful kiddos, Baron and Elisar. And so speaking of the kiddos, they're doing great. Elisar is 6 months now, almost 7 months now, which is insane. The dude's eating food. He is almost crawling. I can't say he's a crawler yet, but he can get places and it's very slow and it looks painful as he's scooting his face across the ground, but it is absolutely adorable. And it's so fun to watch him grow and try new things and just want to be like his older brother. He constantly watches Baron. Unfortunately, Baron isn't always the nicest with him, as I've mentioned before on the podcast. Baron just recently he goes back and forth between, oh, I love you, Ellis, like hi, he calls him, and then I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna headbutt you. I'm gonna scratch you. I'm gonna put my finger in your mouth. Whatever it is to just mess with them. But they're both doing great. Bear is talking like crazy. He's saying all different kinds of words. He is learning so much, and Ariel's done a really good job of keeping him super community based and has a lot of friends that he gets to hang out with, which is a lot of fun to just kind of sit back and watch, especially without having family and our own cousins around. It was my dream. Like, I grew up with my cousins and we would play and hang out like on a weekly basis. And so since we don't have any cousins in town, it's really fun. And it's very special to me that he's got some buddies that, I mean, he doesn't know any different. To him, they're family, and it's fun to watch. So the boys are doing well. I'm doing good. We got to go to, I just got to give them a shout out real quick. Up Talking Tolkien. We've talked about them before, but it's a podcast group. Lane and Ezra Kirk, Lane Smith and Ezra Kirk, they are incredible podcasters, and they put on a party for all of their listeners. And so I got to go. It was in Mount Vernon, Ohio, just about 3.5 hours north of where we live right here in Kentucky. And it was a blast. I mean, there were some complications. Ariel got sick while we got up there, and the boys, of course, were just kind of a lot to handle, but we had a lot of fun getting to talk Tolkien. I met some awesome new people. Shout out to Andrew, to Damien, to Steve, just some incredible people that I got to meet. Just talking about Tolkien. Won this awesome shirt. If you can see it, it's the Argonath. It doesn't fit me very well, but I figured I had to wear it when I'm doing this podcast. So hopefully, if you can imagine it in your mind. If you're listening to this podcast, you can imagine it in your mind. It's sweet. But had a lot of fun. Got a new tattoo as well. I got a Lord of the Rings tattoo. I'm trying to get it in the frame. You can't really tell, but it looks like the book of Lord of the Rings, and it's got Tolkien's signature on the cover with some leaves and vines and stuff. It's really pretty neat. We were going to get a matching tattoo, Ariel and I, but unfortunately we realized after I got mine that it's not advisable for breastfeeding people to, in fact, have get a tattoo. I think it's probably so that there's no infections and bloodstreams and all that kind of stuff. But we realized, like, yeah, I probably shouldn't. So I think the plan is eventually, hopefully, she plans to get a matching tattoo of the Tolkien tattoo. So yeah, hopefully we'll get that to happen. But it was a blast. It was an awesome time. Got to meet some wonderful folks, as I mentioned. But yeah, that's probably plenty of babbling like Butterbur. But again, Tidings of the Fellowship. Again, shout out to those guys that I've mentioned, to anyone who comes over from the Up Talking Tolkien podcast, as Lane and Ez have been kind enough to give us shout outs on their own podcast as well. So welcome to the Fellowship if you are joining us from over there. It's just a fantastic community. Again, they put on a party for their community who listens to their podcast. Who does that? Right? Like who does that? But again, it was a fantastic time. But tidings of the Fellowship, I don't think there's any other tidings from that point on. Scott Marion, he's almost getting to this goal. He's been running every single day, inspired me to do a 5K a day for the month of October. So I'm 2 days in. I've done 3 straight, but I started the last day of September for some stupid reason. But I'm technically done 3 5Ks in a row. So planning to do all of October for that. So shout out Scott and David Willett. He's been shooting us some messages on Instagram, just some Tolkien related things. He's got really cool trinkets that he's collecting. So shout out to David as well as you're listening to this. But I'll no riddles in the dark, obviously, because I have nobody to play with. Unless actually, yeah, my wife is right here. And let's see if she can guess. So, Ariel, you've been listening to the podcast, right?
I listen to you every day.
Yeah, she hasn't been listening to the podcast, so she has no idea what we're about to do. That's okay. But Riddles in the Dark, the way that we've changed it around is we give each other a minute to ask yes or no questions to decide if we can figure out the character in the Tolkien Legendarium that the other person is thinking about.
Okay.
So rather than maybe the entire Legendarium...
Embarrass myself again?
Well, I was going to say, you can either choose somebody and I can try guessing, or I could have you guess. Like I could think of somebody and have you guess. So you could either choose somebody that I would have to try to guess, or I can choose somebody.
I know Tolkien stuff. I just feel like I don't know enough about specifics to give you clues to a person. You know?
That's fair. I can ask questions that can. Yeah, I can. It's yes or no questions, but I can do it in a way that I feel like
I could try to guess somebody. Like
okay. All right.
Give me clues. I feel like that'd be easier than me trying to think of something.
Well, the thing about the clues is you have to ask for them. So all I can do is say yes or no. You have to ask, is this a man? Is this an elf? Is this so?
Okay, I can try.
So you
have to do it at my level.
Yeah. I got to do it. Let me take the mic out real quick.
Myself at left.
Yes, Ariel came to LEP and she did a fantastic job watching the kiddos. Again, like I said, she was sick, but regardless, she did a wonderful job of taking care of our kiddos and having fun, even amidst not feeling her best by any means. But okay. So I have a character, and again, yes or no questions. You can ask questions like, is this character in the Fellowship of the Ring? Is this character in the Two Towers, Return of the King, and stuff like that. I've got a character in my mind. It's, I would say, a medium difficulty. So I didn't want to make it too easy for you, but medium difficulty. So I will give you, let me start my timer on my phone here. All right. 1 minute. Yes or no questions. Starting now.
Is this a person in the Fellowship?
No.
Is this a elf? Oh, this is hard.
No.
A hobbit?
No.
A man?
Yes.
Okay. A man? Oh, how many men do I know? Is it Faramir?
No.
Okay. Is it a man of Rohan?
No.
Of Gondor?
Yes.
Oh gosh, what's a Gondor person? Is Gondor the one with is it Denethor?
It is Denethor. Yay! Well done.
The gross tomato guy.
The gross tomato guy. Yes. Ariel has been growing tomatoes in our backyard. She made some salsa out of said tomatoes, and I have often wondered like what it would look like for Bear to eat tomatoes the way that Denethor eats the tomatoes. Because thankfully he hasn't like just chopped into him like an apple yet.
He just doesn't like them.
Okay, he doesn't like them. But fair enough. Ariel, well done. Thank you for participating.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say? This is your moment.
Will I have any other moments?
Maybe.
God bless.
Hey, that's the best thing you could say. Honestly, that is spread that gospel. I love that. Alrighty. Well, now that Riddles in the Dark is done, Tidings of Fellowship is done, and Babbling Like Butterbur is done as well. We're going to jump into the meat and potatoes of today's podcast. And like I said, I have a gripe with Peter Jackson. And I'm just going to say it. Like, obviously, the dude did a fantastic job. I feel like I have to always say it, every time that I'm mention any constructive criticism about PJ, because the dude was incredible, right? He brought to life something nobody said could be done, and other people tried and failed very, very poorly. I mean, you think of Ralph Bakshi's animated version of Lord of the Rings, and then looking at what Peter Jackson was able to do. So, again, I'm very, very, very grateful for Peter Jackson and the work that he has done. But there was multiple parts of the trilogy that I wish he would have been true to the books. But one part in particular that really, really grinds my gears is in Shelob's Lair. So in the movies, this is kicked to the third movie, kind of like midway through the third movie. In the books, it's actually the end of the second book. And so in the movies, obviously you guys probably know, they are on the stairs of Cirith Ungol, and Sam and Frodo and Smeagol / Gollum are up there. And this whole time, Peter Jackson has kind of been sowing how the ring is deceitful, how Smeagol is deceitful, and Smeagol's been leading them to Shelob's lair, knowing, for certain and hoping that Shelob is going to eat them so he can take the ring and, be happy again, have his precious again. And so that part is correct, right? That part is correct in the sense that, that was Smeagol / Gollum's plan. However, where Peter Jackson decided to deviate was he included this little subplot of Smeagol framing Sam, right? So you probably remember he always calls him the fat hobbit, and he's like, oh, he's already stuffing his face. And so he puts Limbus bread crumbs on Sam's jacket, and then when they wake up and it's time to keep going, they're out of Limbus bread, which again didn't happen in the books, but Smeagol then says, oh, it's Sam's fault because there's crumbs on his jacket. He's always stuffing his face when Master's not looking. And he's putting this discord between Frodo and Sam. And of course, Sam gets super defensive. That's a filthy lie. And he tackles him. And he gets super upset. And then at the end of this, Sam's saying, hey, get away. And Frodo says, no, it's you, looking at Sam, saying, you're the problem. You need to leave. And Frodo's like, what? No, you can't mean that. I'm not going to go. And Frodo says, go home, Sam, in his very Ariel hates the movie version of Frodo, but go home, Sam. And so Sam does, which before I get to what happens in the book, I also want to just paint the irony here, because you have this beautiful moment all the way backing up to the Fellowship. Again, not a moment that I think necessarily happened word for word in the books, but a beautiful scene and the end of the Fellowship when Sam is wading out into the water chasing Frodo. And Frodo's like, I'm going to Mordor alone. And Sam's like, of course you are, but I'm going with you. And he jumps in the water and he ends up sinking, and Frodo dives in and grabs him and pulls him up. And Sam gets on the boat and he says, I made a promise, Mr. Frodo. A promise. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee. And I don't mean to. And it was such a heartfelt moment that you felt the sincerity of what Sam was saying. And Sean Astin did an incredible job portraying this as an actor. And you're like, yeah, of course, this guy's by his side no matter what. He will not leave him. But then fast forward a couple movies, and that's exactly what he's doing. Of course, at the will of his master. And Sam was very, very loyal. So even in the books, maybe if Frodo commanded him to leave, would he have left? Even though I don't think so, even at that point. But, I mean, you have this beautiful moment where he's like, I'm not going anywhere. I am by your side to the end. But then you fast forward and Frodo says, go home, Sam. And Sam just is like, fine. Of course, it's heartfelt. He's crying. He's sad. He's very, very upset. He starts going down the stairs of Cirith Ungol, and he gets down to a spot. He ends up falling down the stairs, but he gets down to the spot where he sees Limbus bread and realizes that Gollum sent him up. Gollum just tossed the Limbus bread, because again, that's what happened. Gollum threw out the Limbus bread off the cliff, and he gets real upset, and he goes back up and meets Frodo in Shelob's lair, saves him, all that kind of stuff. So that's what happens in the movies. I probably didn't even need to tell you guys what happened, because if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a nerd enough to know exactly what happened. But it's important for this context and to have that fresh in your mind. So now moving over to the book. Again, like I said, this is Two Towers. Tolkien wrote, And I'm going to start the very first page of the chapter. I just want to read how this goes down. So they're at the tunnel of Cirith Ungol, like the opening of Shelob's lair here. And Frodo is looking at Smeagol, and he says, "Is this the only way in, Smeagol?" says Frodo. "Yes, yes," he answered. "Yes, we must go in this way now." And then Sam asks, "Do you mean to say you've been through this hole?" said Sam. "Phew, but perhaps you don't mind bad smells." Gollum's eyes glinted. "He doesn't know what we want, does he, precious? No, he doesn't. But Smeagol can bear things." That's much better at Gollum. I should probably not even try it. "Yes, he's been through this. Yes, oh yes, right through. It's the only way." "And what makes that smell, I wonder?" said Sam. "It's like, well, I wouldn't say like to say some beastly hole of the orcs, I'll warrant, but 100 years of their filth in it." I'm doing really bad with these voices. I'm so sorry. I should have practiced beforehand. "Well," said Frodo, "orcs or no, it's the only way in. We must take it." Drawing a deep breath, they passed inside. So they're going in together, right? And they're both skeptical of this road. Sam especially is like, "It reeks in here. There's something bad. I don't have a good feeling about this. Are we sure we need to go this way? Gollum, have you been through here?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's the only way to go." And so they go in together. And then the next part that I want to read, because as you go down through this, they end up walking in, it gets completely dark, right? You're in a tunnel in a cave, so of course it goes completely dark. Gollum is seemingly in front of them, leading the way, but he sneakily and quietly sneaks off, and they don't really know. God bless you. You can sneeze. Don't blow your brains out. That was my wife. Okay, pause. Sorry. I don't know anyone other than her who's silent, like can control stopping her sneeze. Like I've tried before, and it hurts. It hurts my brain. How do you?
If you didn't say anything, I don't think anyone would know I sneezed.
I know, but I just had to bring that up because if you, and please send me an email, like comment on Facebook or there's a YouTube or whatever, if you were able to hold in your sneeze and not blow your brains out, because it's impressive that she's able to do that. And she always makes fun of me for having a dad sneeze, but I'm not gonna risk blowing brains out. So let's see. Now I need to find where it is. Right, so they're walking through this tunnel and they're realizing that there's actually multiple tunnels. As they're putting their hands, they're groping on the sides of the walls, and they're realizing like there's openings, and so this isn't just one straight through tunnel. There's multiple tunnels, kind of webbing throughout this place, and they're starting to get pretty worked up. The smell is bad. They realize Gollum's gone, and they're like, "I don't know which way have they gone." But then I'll just start reading again. This is the third page, so of Shelob's lair. Here was some opening in the rock far wider than they had yet passed, and out of it came a reek so foul and a sense of lurking malice so intense that Frodo reeled. And at that moment, Sam too lurched forward and fell. Fighting off both the sickness and the fear, Frodo gripped Sam's hand. "Up," he said, in a hoarse breath without voice. "It all comes from here, the stench and the peril. Now for it, quick." Calling up his remaining strength and resolution, he dragged Sam to his feet and forced his own limbs to move. Sam stumbled beside him. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, at least 6 steps. Maybe they had passed the dreadful unseen opening, but whether that was so or not, suddenly it was easier to move, as if some hostile will, for the moment, had released them. They struggled on, and get this is my favorite part, still hand in hand. That is the picture in the lens in which I see the relationship between Frodo and Sam. For one, Frodo's not just this weakling that fell to the lies of Gollum, of Smeagol. No, he's wise. We talked about this with Benjamin in our last podcast. He's a very wise character, and he has a lot more to offer than I think what Peter Jackson did with him in the movies. And so not only is that, but then you see the brotherhood of Frodo and Sam. They're in literally the valley of the shadow of death, to make a biblical term, Psalm 23. And they're holding hands, walking through this tunnel. And that is a beautiful picture of brotherhood, of friendship, of what it looks like to have one another's back through it all. And they can only trust themselves too. That's the thing. Like Gollum is this outsider. And again, that's why I have such a gripe with Peter Jackson, because I don't think in Tolkien's world that Frodo would ever heed Gollum's words more important or more valid than Sam. Samwise Gamgee, his gardener, but yet turns to be his best friend, his most trust companion. I just don't see that happening. And so to me, it seems unrealistic. I know the whole point. Like, I think the reason why this happens is Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, the writers, they were trying to create this idea of the ring's power to corrupt, that nobody can resist the ring, that anyone who wields it is burdened down with evil, and while there's truth in that, and the ring absolutely corrupts, and the power that it gives, it draws evil to it, but that's the whole point of the story to me that Tolkien wrote, was even the smallest of beings, the most gentle hobbits, they can change the course of history because of their resilience, because of their ability to resist evil. Like you and I, regardless of what kind of evil we're up against, can resist it. Especially again, as a Christian, as a Christ follower, I believe that we can call upon the authority of Jesus and have that power over evil. And we see those subtle moments in the Legendarium and the trilogy where we see the influence of the West, of the Valar, of Eru, Manwë. Um, and I think that's what Tolkien is illuminating in this moment, that Peter Jackson, just for whatever reason, again, just trying to make it maybe more dramatic, maybe cause the fans who hadn't read the book to really freak out about what was going to happen, and maybe cause the fans that had read the book to be like, wait, what the heck was going on? But I don't know. It to me seems like such an unnecessary change, and it's so detrimental to their relationship. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people who watch the movies who don't like Frodo as a character. Maybe that's, I mean,
there's a lot wrong.
Ariel says there's a lot wrong with it. But would you say that that's like a big piece, like when he betrays Sam and says, no, you like go home. You've come this far with me, but now I'm going to send you by yourself.
Oh yeah, it makes me so angry. Sam does everything for him. Sam's the real hero of the whole series, really. He is,
even Tolkien said that,
the best friend. He's the most loyal. He's humble. He's braver. He's always like the first to, help out and to draw his sword. But yeah, it's so frustrating. And it just makes such an unlikable character in the movie, Frodo, even more unlikable. It's just super frustrating.
I appreciate that. That's my wife, guys. And she is incredible because she's literally just painting here as I'm rambling on for 25 minutes about Lord of the Rings and all things nerdom and my fantasies of Lord of the Rings. So thank you again for just the freedom to be able to do this, because she's great. But yeah, I agree with her. I mean, Frodo's already, you just kind of see him in the movies as like this wimp. Weak. Yeah, he doesn't have the strength you see in the books. He doesn't have the wisdom you see in the books. In fact, even in the books, he's much older than Sam. In the movies, he looks younger because the actor is far younger than Sean Austin. Elijah Wood, I think, is like 10 years younger than Sean Austin or something like that. You're right. He doesn't really age. But regardless, he just looks young. He acts young. And that's not at all, I mean, how Tolkien put it together. So anyway, in the movies, Sam and Frodo are separated when Frodo is ambushed by Shelob, right? And Sam or Frodo kind of fights her off a little bit with the vial of Galadriel and stuff, but then he gets stung and he gets wrapped up, and Sam has to come get him and save him, right? But not the way in the book at all. So right at this point, they're trying to find Gollum. And I love this part because Sam, again, right there next to Frodo, he realizes what Gollum's plan was, and he kind of knew it the whole time. And again, that's another reason why he would never have left Frodo, because he never trusted Gollum, he never trusted his plans, and Peter Jackson made that very clear in the movies as well. Like, you always see Sam kind of overhearing Gollum's evil plans. He never trusts Gollum. He barely sleeps unless he's for sure, that knows that Gollum is sleeping, because he's assuming that that Gollum is going to try to throttle him in their sleep or lead them to some kind of impending doom, which is exactly what Gollum was trying to do. And so that's why it's even less believable that he would let Frodo go in with Gollum, knowing that Gollum's full purpose has been to kill Frodo and seal the ring. So anyway, I had to get that part off my chest as well. But they had gone more than a few yards when from behind them came a sound, startling and horrible. In a heavy, padded silence, a gurgling, bubbling noise, and a long, venomous hiss. They wheeled around, but nothing could be seen. Still as stones, they stood, staring, waiting, for they did not know what. Obviously, alluding to Shelob, the gigantic spider spawn of Ungoliant. Just gross. um, and then Sam says, "It's a trap," said Sam, and he laid his hand upon his hilt of his sword. And as he did so, he thought of the darkness of the barrow whence it came. I wish old Tom was near us now, he thought, as he stood in the darkness about him. In a blackness of despair and anger in his heart, it seemed to him he saw a light in his mind, almost unbearably bright, as rays of sun to the eyes of one long hidden in the widowless pit. Then the light became color, green, gold, silver, white. Far off, as he sat in a little picture drawn by elven fingers, he saw the Lady Galadriel standing in the grass in Lorien, and gifts were in her hand. "And you, ring bearer," he heard her say, remote but clear, "for you I have prepared this." And of course, that's the file of Galadriel, the Light Erendil, which is so awesome. And, he tells him, "Master, master," Sam cried. And "The lady's gift, the star glass, a light to you in the dark places when all of the lights go out. The star glass." "The star glass," muttered Frodo, as one answering out of his sleep, hardly comprehending. "Why, yes, why have I forgotten it? A light when all of the lights go out. And now, indeed, light alone can help us." And so, obviously, you guys know what happens next. Like, then, they have to cut through the webs, and Gollum tries to attack them, and Gollum and Sam start fighting when Shelob gets Frodo, and then Sam's able to scare Gollum away, and then he has to go help Frodo from Shelob. And so it's so much different. But it's Sam who remembers, not Frodo, it's Sam who remembers the file of Galadriel. In the movies, you see this picture that Galadriel kind of transcendently views Frodo, and he sees her, and she's like, "Hey, man, it's okay. Come on, you're good," and kind of helps him up. Again, why? Sam was right there in the book. It's clear as day that he's the one that sees Galadriel, and in his mind, he's the pure of heart. He recognizes the light that was given for this purpose. I think Galadriel had some foresight to see what was going to happen, that they'd need a light like this in this moment. And it's not Frodo that remembers that. It's Sam. And again, not that I'm, trying to say my namesake is the best character in this, but at the same time, Sam's amazing. And what Peter Jackson did to his character in that moment really, to me, degraded his integrity, his character, his strength, as well as degrading Frodo's integrity, Frodo's strength, Frodo's character. And so that's my gripe. There's a lot more I could go into. I'm going to keep it short. We're hitting about 30 minutes on this podcast here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you didn't even know this is what happened in the books, because I think that's the case for a lot of people. Something I did notice at this party was there was a lot of people there who were absolutely huge fans of the movies, but never really read the books or any of the other works of Tolkien. And so I know there's a lot of people who, for good reason, again, Peter Jackson, I've been griping for 30 minutes straight, but he did a fantastic job. Again, I 100% have to caveat that every single time. But if you haven't read the books, you just don't know. And maybe that's you. And so I'm curious to hear your thoughts. If you had never read the books and you'd only known that side of Shelob's Lair, how does this hit you? Are you do you prefer Tolkien's writings? It's okay if you don't. It really is. Or do you prefer how Peter Jackson did it? What would you have liked to see? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe Seth and I'll have some Discord on this when he gets back. I know the podcast would be much better with him on here, so I apologize that you just had to hear me ramble. And then every once in a while, the lovely voice of my wife. She's currently working on a barn. It looks beautiful. Look at that. She's making some autumn fall leaf trees. It's gorgeous. You guys can't look at that because it's over there. But I'm just rambling at this point. But seriously, okay, the last thing before I light the beacons of Gondor and call for aid, the last thing that I wanted to hit was something really awesome is happening within the Tolkien fandom, something that you can be a part of, that you can support, and that is Concerning Hobbits Red Book of Westmarch radio drama. So again, the same guys that I went to the party with, Up Talking Tolkien, Lane, and we talked about this on the podcast before, he is decided to take it upon himself to write a backstory and just incredible radio drama based off of Eleanor Gamgee and her life, but then also using the Red Book of Westmarch that she has been given to from Sam, and she gets to go through the old stories and gets to talk about like just all the wonderful things that hobbits have done. And there's only one episode out right now, but we've recorded more, and Seth and I have been a part of the recording. Here's kind of the hat that I got with the logo there. So really excited for this project. Seth and I got to play a very small part in it, but it's really cool to say, hey, we were in a Tolkien and a Lord of the Rings kind of creation. Super fun. And this is not like for money or anything. This is not like, there's no funding in this at all, to my knowledge. It's just Lane wanting to put down his creativity and create something with his community. So he's got people who are producing, he's got people who are singing, he's got people who are creating music, and it's people just like us who like Lord of the Rings, and that's what's so beautiful about it. It's a really like quality done project, and it's just by a bunch of nerds who, again, I think that's the difference between Rings of Power. You get a bunch of professionals who doing what they want to do, but they have no idea, no love, no heart for the story, and therefore you can kind of tell, right? I mean, Sam carried the book everywhere on the set. Gandalf carried the book wherever on the set, like of Lord of the Rings. Ian McKellen and Sean Astin, like the actual actors, they cared to represent their characters well and accurately, and that's unfortunately lost now in modern media. So this is a really good homage to Tolkien's works. It's definitely fan fiction, but it's wonderful. It's really, really wonderful. So check that out. It's out, I think, mainly just on Apple Podcasts, but it might be on Spotify too. Again, Concerning Hobbits, Red Book of Westmarch, radio drama, fantastic. Check it out. All right, I think I'm done. I think I've griped long enough, and it's getting close to bedtime. So with that, I will call for aid. Gondor calls for aid. Will you, Rohan, answer? So if you enjoyed the podcast or this video of me, please like, subscribe, leave a review, share with your fellow friends and fans. I've just been kind of subtly dropping the podcast to random people that I meet. So if you're one of those random people that I've talked to recently, like Stuart, love to hear from you. But all that to say, want to hear your Tolkien story. Want to hear your thoughts on this episode on Shelob's Lair with Frodo and Sam and their relationship. Want to hear your thoughts on Children of Hurin or any of the other works that we've done recently. We'd love to hear and have Discord with you all, have dialogue, because that's what's so much fun about being a part of this fandom, is that it's never ending. The conversations that you can have about Tolkien. Somebody asked me once recently, like, wait, you've been doing this podcast for like 2 years? Like, how do you still have things to talk about? I'm like, okay, it's been even longer than 2 years, but there's endless things to talk about. So please send us your thoughts, if you don't mind, to wekpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter or Instagram or anywhere else that you can get in contact with us. It would be great. So until next time, not sure what to expect. Seth and I, we are hoping to have another conversation with somebody that I met at LEP, Damien. I had already reached out to him because I think it'd be awesome. He had, I won't spoil it because I think it'll come out on the podcast. It'll be really, really neat, and I'll let him tell the story. But we had a really good conversation. He's a dad. He's an orthopedic surgeon, so he's brilliant. But I think I want to have a conversation about what fatherhood looks like in Middle Earth, and some good examples of that, some bad examples of that, and then some personal stories to go along in that. So I hope that's what to come next. But again, with Seth's schedule and mine and Damien's, it'll be hard to know when to plan for that. So hopefully that comes out soon, but we'll keep you guys posted. But until then, thank you for joining us for some well-earned comforts. We bid you a very fond farewell.
Ta-ta.
What was ta-ta? My wife thinks she's British all of a sudden. That's great.